Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another board game related video. And now we're taking a look at another of the expansions for Resident Evil 2, the board game, which was published by SteamForged Games in 2019 in a licensing agreement with Capcom. And the expansion we're looking at now is Survival Horror expansion. And apart from the fact it's got the great big word expansion, it's also got reiterates, as with the others, and on almost every other side and bottom of the box, that the core game is required. So if you haven't got the core Resident Evil 2, the board game, you will not be able to use anything in this. So if we look at the bottom of the box, as ever, this gives you an overview of the box's contents. So we got 38 cards, one expansion booklet, and 13 highly detailed plastic miniatures. So this one's a bit of an unusual one because unlike a lot of the other expansions, there are absolutely no floor tiles whatsoever. But then when you see what it actually adds, it doesn't really need them. So there's the rules booklet, and it shows. And as ever, you get another overview of slightly more detailed of the contents, and this time it actually names the characters, which is important because, with the exception of William Birkin and Brian Irons, who are unique to the new player versus player mode that is within this expansion, the characters in this are actually other characters that you can add to the pool of selectable characters that you can control when playing Resident Evil 2, the board game, either standalone scenario or as a campaign. And we've also got a couple of giant spiders, a zombie Marvin Branagh, and 2 Ivies, and the zombie Brad Vickers, and a whole bunch of cards. And you also, and when it comes to the new characters, you can either have them all available right from the get-go, or if you want to do it properly, it tells you how to do the unlock requirements for each character. If you're doing a campaign and want to do it more conventionally, like the video game upon which this board game is based, you've got a few new weapons as well, which shows how they work and how to apply them. And there's also something which describes how to make the game harder, quite what you would, given that I've been through it, and even at the most basic rules, it can be a struggle. And it shows how to apply the new enemies and mini bosses. This here is actually the map for the tutorial mission in the core game, so you just replace the zombie that's in this particular room with the zombie Brad Vickers to apply that, and the other main bulk of it is how to do the player versus player bits, and here are the player versus player scenarios, just a couple of them. And now we'll take a look at the actual models and cards themselves. So as ever, we got another of these plastic lids. So these are the controllable characters. As I said, 2 of them are only for use in the player versus player version, and they're the zombified versions of those 2 characters mentioned earlier, the 2 giant spiders and the 2 Ivies. And we've got a set of small cards, and got a couple of S's. So these are starting cards. For example, one particular character specialises in this Colt, which replaces the handgun that character would normally be given at the start of use within a game. It is more powerful, and you can use handgun bullets to reload it, as well as using a handgun dial. The main difference is that unlike the regular handguns, whose ammo starts at 15, this one starts at 6 and can never go above 6. but you do get to roll 2 red dice instead of 1 or potentially 2 or 3 blue dice. So with red dice you are more likely to get the double bullet holes that it's required to inflict a wound point of damage. There's a bestial rage weapon which doesn't have any ammo to worry about, hence the infinity symbol. At the time of recording this video, I've never actually used that, so I've not had any first-hand experience of the weapon. But it's got a range of 1. You got 1 blue die, and if you get roll 1 bullet hole, you can knock the enemy to 1 space and inflict 1 wound. Or if you get 2 bullet holes, you can knock it 1 space and inflict 2 wounds. And so we've got a solitary locked door card here, double-sided as usual, depending on the needs. Got a couple of item A's, well, 3 item A's, one of which is the flamethrower, which is one of the new weapons introduced in this expansion. It's worth pointing out, though, that the flamethrower is one of these that has this symbol on, and if a weapon or other object has this symbol on, then that means that it takes up 2 inventory slots instead of 1. And this is a symbol that's unique to this expansion, which was actually mentioned on the page which explains the new weapons such as the flamethrower. And that's a limited ammunition. There's no dial for the flamethrower or any other weapon that uses this symbol, but each time you make an attack, you would roll the black die from the core game, and if you rolled the umbrella logo, then the weapons run out of ammunition and cannot be used again. If you roll anything else, then you can continue to use it. The G-Virus sample and Sherry's photo. And we got some item B cards here. Unicorn medal, and the other 2 are the other weapons he introduced in this, the spark shot and the Gatling gun. Sorry about the blurriness. So these weapons also have the bulkier bulky weapon icon, so each of these weapons takes up 2 inventory slots rather than just 1. And the spark shot also has that limited ammunition symbol like the flamethrower does. And another thing, it actually says that there's no ammo tracker with the Gatling gun, even though it doesn't have the limited ammunition thing. But it says to simply use the submachine gun one from the core game if you decide to apply the Gatling gun to your games. It's just a unicorn medal that's used in a scenario. And that's all. That's it for the small cards within this, and as ever, there's letters in the bottom right corner showing which expansion cards are from. So in the case of this one, if it has RE2:SHO, then that's Resident Evil 2 Survival Horror. So you know that anything that has those letters is from this expansion. So if you're having to separate everything else out after session, then you'll know which cards came from this expansion. And here are the big cards from this. So there's William Birkin and Brian Irons, who are only used in the PvP. They wouldn't be much use in the campaigns because they can each only hold 2 items at a time. And Annette Birkin, an advanced version of Leon Kennedy. Because if you're applying the new characters unlock requirements, then there's the chance to switch Leon and Claire, for that matter, to their advanced version. but you have to satisfy something that's specifically listed on that new characters section to unlock requirements on that page from the rule booklet I showed you earlier. There's Marvin Branner, quite a good selection of weapon mastery, and normally if a character dies, that means that the scenario ends in failure, but Marvin can safely die without that happening, as long as the people left can still fulfill the mission objective. If they can't, then that scenario ends in failure as normal. But if they can, then Marvin dying is one of is one exception to the rule. If even just one character dies or is knocked out and can't be revived with a first aid spray, then that mission ends in failure. There's Brad Vickers, Ben Bertolucci. Not so hot on the weapons front. He can't use shotguns nor bow guns. And there's Sherry Birkin. She can't attack at all. That's why she's got no weapons listed at the bottom. And she also has her health tracker beginning on caution, which is the middle of the health tracker, if you remember from what you saw in my overview video of the core game. And her health can never go above caution. So that's another thing to bear in mind should you choose to use her as a playable character. And we got some info cards for the new villainous things in this, including the zombie versions of Brad Vickers and Marvin Branner. And in the case of the giant spider and the poison ivy, as you can see from the flask tokens, there's the potential for characters to get poisoned. There's just the regular ivy. It's pretty much got which has got similar stats to the poison ivy. The difference is there's no poison effects. And other than that, the only other thing really are these are trap cards, which are used in I believe the PvP scenarios. I don't think they're used in any of the scenarios in the main campaign, and last but not least, we've got a selection of condition rare detention cards. Now you might be looking at things like Venomous Spray and Vigor Mortis and Entangling Vines and thinking, but there are already cards like that in the core game. Well, yes, there are. But if you wish to apply these ones, you simply replace those versions with these ones. And the Venomous Spray ones will be used if you decided to apply the giant spiders, as outlined on that new enemies section on the rules booklet. And that's just one example. And as ever, those have the RE2:SHO in the bottom right corner. So again, there's no doubt that they came from this expansion. So when you decide to separate things out again and put them in the expansion's respective boxes, it's clear where they come from. And the trap cards are only from this expansion, so the chance of them getting muddled up in any way is slight. So, as I said, there are no floor tiles in this particular expansion, which is somewhat unusual, because usually there are some floor tiles, even if they're just duplicates of ones you've already got, but not this time. But anyway, that is the Resident Evil 2, the board game, survival horror expansion in a nutshell. Now, I've not used, at the time of recording this video, I've not used any of the characters in the in this when I had my campaign playthrough of Resident Evil 2, the board game, but I had at the time of recording this video just done both of the scenarios from the giant alligator expansion and applied some of the characters from this in that, and I think it worked out really well. It's even though I'd never used the characters before, it's very clear from the character profile cards how to make best use of their perks, and it's very clearly explained. I don't think seasoned players of Resident Evil 2, the board game, I don't think they're going to have any problem understanding how everything works when it comes to each of the characters' special abilities, and that includes the advanced versions of Leon and Claire. You just use the Leon and Claire player models from the core game. When using those, there's no separate version of them for their advanced versions. Just the profile cards. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to catch you on another one soon. Texie88 out.